do whatever the Hyundai you want.
Hey, I'm Ricky Stenhouse Jr.
G'day, I'm Marcus Ambrose.
Hey, this is Kenny Rowe, and you're listening to
The Fuel Pod.
This podcast covers all things motorsports. It's unfiltered, it's unmasked, and
Ooh, we're going crazy. What's up, man?
Let's talk some racing.
Well, yeah, we are. So welcome everybody to episode 75, Overtake on Me. So a little play on words there, but yeah, dude, it's been a crazy week trying to get some stuff together for this show. And of course we got Vegas coming up, and it's the holiday season, which is both exciting because I love Christmas. It's my favorite holiday, but Christmas shopping stresses me out. And I'm sure it does. I'm sure it does for quite a few of the whatever trillion people there are on this planet, but that celebrate Christmas, of course. But yeah, kind of stressful, and then work because we're ramping up. Our business is one that gets particularly busy during the holiday, as so many are. So just crazy with kids and all that stuff. And then we still got to make time for racing and motorsports and the people that listen to and watch this show. So we had a race this past weekend at Brazil, which we're going to talk about probably at length. And then the one everybody's excited for, unless you actually live in Vegas, the Las Vegas Grand Prix coming up here next weekend, not this weekend. We'll also talk a little bit. We'll talk a little bit of rally. We'll barely skim the surface on NASCAR because, again, not a crazy eventful race. Although, you know, heart goes out to Kevin Harvick and his
just a championship, nothing much.
Yeah, I mean, it was the championship, and it was probably one of the most. To me, it was a boring race again. Not much interesting to it. We'll do some rip from the paddock this week because we took about a 3-week hiatus from doing that. We'll talk some rally in Japan, and we'll finish out with some because we got the Dakar Desert Rally coming up. It's one of my favorite races every year. It's very difficult to watch, especially if you work a job at all, because it's 15 days of straight racing across the Arabian Desert this year. So we'll talk a little bit about that, but I don't want to get into crazy details because as we get closer to it, we'll do a little bit of a build-up for that. But let's go back to Sao Paulo in Brazil to the Interlagos circuit because we had a Formula One race there this past weekend. It was not without its incidents. Let's just be clear. We didn't even make it through the formation lap without incidents. So we'll start with the formation lap. So if you were just watching
the one that hurt,
yeah, it doesn't hurt me. That's not my favorite driver on the team. And once you really get into your fandom and they hire a driver you don't like, then we'll talk. It's easy to pick pick a constructor right now, but wait till they hire a driver you're not particularly fond of, and you've got to just root for one.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm in that situation on 2 different teams. So anyway, we'll start with the formation lap. So if you're watching it from the outside, all you see is these guys going, 70, 100 miles an hour around their formation lap as they get ready to line up on the grid. And you just see one red Ferrari just basically completely miss a turn, skid, spin out, nail the wall, driver running up and down the hill trying to figure out what he can do to get that car back on the track. He's out of the race. And that driver was the driver of the number 16 Toe-Link Scuderia, which was Charles Leclerc. Now, at first I thought, what did he do? I mean, that was a Grosjean level mistake, man. I mean, if you remember, what race was that? Singapore? Where there were Azerbaijan, Baku, where Grosjean was on, I think it was on a safety car. He's swerving the car back and forth to heat the tires up and goes too far to one side and rams it into the wall and loses a tire. Typical Grosjean. But this was not Charles's fault. So once they showed the in-car cam, like facing him, you just see him driving, and then you just literally see the wheel just kind of literally flip over. And I was like, wow, his steering's busted. And he said something about hydraulics, and all I heard was, want, my toe link is broke. So, I mean, that was the F1 equivalent of toe link drink. But
Oh, it's a toe link.
anyway, so Ferrari was one car down at the beginning, and the super shitty thing about this is that he was starting second on the grid. So that left that spot open, which left Max out there by himself in one. Just what you want if you're not a Max fan, right? He's just out there, but I mean, they're basically handed. I mean, he was going to win anyway, but they basically, literally, platinum wrapped that one for him. So behind him, he's got two Aston Martins. So let's get to the start of the race. He's got two Aston Martins behind him, and then behind that, you have Lando, and that's the only thing that really matters at this point, because we're going to have to kind of really segment this thing because all this action happened right at the beginning, and it was insane. So we had Leclerc in the wall in the formation lap. Lights go out. They get to racing. Aston Martin gets the worst start in probably recorded human history in a race. It looked like they forgot to press go. Lando gets a ridiculous jump, goes around the outside, obviously had his trailer park girls. So goes around the outside of one of the Aston Martins, was in line for second place from P6 in 27.3 feet.
Yes.
I mean, it wasn't that much. I mean, it was probably more than that. But there's not a lot of room before the first turn at Brazil, and he was already in P2 going around, which was the best place to be because behind him was absolute effing carnage. Because let me tell you who else got a good jump. As the people across the pond would say, Alex Albon got a ridiculous jump. If you're over here, it's Albon. But over there, it's Alex Albon. But so Albon Bond got a great jump off there, shot straight past some Haas's, or so he thought. Was on his way to the front, but now you've got them crazy old Haas boys, boy. That American team, that American ingenuity with not one American driver on that team. So got the Viking and the Mad German in the Haas cars. It doesn't really matter what happened at that point, but one of the Haas cars got into Albon because he got squeezed, and that sent him across the nose of the Haas car that bumped him and into the other Haas car that was squeezing the other Haas car. And those two spin out and go out in turn one, and their race is over. So for 64.3 feet, Alex Albon looked like he was in Elon Musk's Dragon X Heavy rocket for Mars. So
we have gone 60 feet.
Long story short, we're down to 17 cars by turn one. So this race was sort of brutal. So anyway, Alex Albon goes off, loses a wheel. One of the other Haas cars lost a wheel. We're not done yet, folks. We still have not escaped turn one yet, by the way. There's an errant tire off of one of the, see, Mikey can't quite laugh at now. He's done. He's done for the rest of the show. So there's a tire playing just pong on the race circuit, and it's bouncing around, and it's like, which cars? It's like, follow the bouncing ball. Which one's it going to hit? It lands dead squaw in the middle of Danny Rick's rear wing. And when you saw it at regular pace, it didn't look that bad. When you saw it in slow-mo, his rear wing went like it V'd. So he comes in. Piastri's in a mess too, and I don't exactly know what happened to him, but long story
his wing
short,
too.
Yeah, so the two Australians are in the pits. And then there's a red flag. So there was a yellow by the time they came out of turn 4, but it was red almost immediately after that. And we're gonna talk about this. We're gonna talk about this right now. So Danny and Oscar, I mean, they got screwed with no Vaseline and their pants still on by the FIA, because the FIA decided to call the ruling that Danny and Oscar are going to start the race after the red flag a lap down, which was stupid because they never lost a whole lap. So that's what's blowing my mind. They followed the other cars around the field and then pitted with all the other cars, and now they're down a lap.
A lap hadn't been completed.
A lap hadn't been completed. And Danny made a great point after the race when he said, you know what, they really, this event actually exposed F1's rules, because yeah, they put me and Oscar a lap down for no real reason. What would have happened if 5 or 6 cars would have got hit by that tire? Are you telling me they would have put 5 to 6 to 7 to 10 cars a lap down? There's no way they would have done
Mhm.
it. So it's unfortunate for Danny because I thought he had a good car again. It's unfortunate for Oscar because we know McLaren has a good car. Although it's hard to tell how Piastri would have done. It was his first time there. But Danny races well there. And so I was pretty butthurt about that when I saw that because I didn't know they had done it till after the race had already went green again. And I was like, he's 56 seconds down. That's a lap. And then they immediately
Mhm.
switched it to plus one lap.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was silently pissed about that for the rest of the race. But yeah, they definitely got to look at that ruling because that is complete crap, man. What were your thoughts on it?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I need to
I'm
breathe.
right,
I
I'm
got to
right.
take a break.
I'm right there with you on it. It didn't make sense to me. Not even half a lap had been completed. Max was in turn 4, yellow, 5, red. What? I didn't see how you could hold somebody a lap. So you're telling me they drove backwards for a lap and then started?
Yeah,
Because we're at lap 0.
yeah. We
How are
hadn't
they
even completed a
at
lap.
lap -1 now?
Yeah, I think it was crap. But and part of me's in their stupid reasoning system that they use. I've tried to employ stupid reasoning as well, and they're thinking, well, these guys had to have their car pulled into their garages to be worked on, and nobody else did. So we're gonna put them a lap down because we should do that because as if having to go to the garage doesn't already put you down already, right?
Mhm.
For nothing. So they hadn't committed any kind of infraction. But hey, let's go ahead and pour salt in the wound after they've already had to go to the garage and add an extra lap for them. Let's do that.
Mhm.
Anyway, long story short, obviously Danny Ricciardo and if you didn't get to watch the race, and Oscar Piastri were nowhere near the front for the entire rest of the race. So I'll tell you somebody else who wasn't at the front, and it's not like I'm sad about it, but George Russell. So good old whinging George Russell. I'd say whining, but that's an American term. He was whinging. He was, he's so woefully British anyway. And I know he's got talent, but
He's
man,
leveled up his whining.
yeah. So here's a guy who won Brazil last year. Some would argue that maybe that Hamilton could have maybe won it. I don't think it really matters. George won it. A win's a win. So he goes in here probably with, and he shouldn't have, but probably with some expectation that, hey, I should be near the front because I won last year. Well, then I think he figured out on lap 1.4 that he was not going to win this race. And, these guys are young, man. And whiners are whiners. And he got on the radio at first. And I thought it was a really good comment. He was like, hey, I'm not going to attack Lewis. Let's work together and get to the front. Never really heard anything about that. And then Lewis just takes off and leaves George. I mean, he had him in DRS for a while. And then he takes off because he doesn't want Perez attacking from the rear the way Perez likes to do. And so obviously Hamilton was doing his own race. It's okay, man. You could have laughed about it. I snuck that one in there.
I was holding it back.
But Russell then gets on. So what are we doing? Are we racing? Is that what we're doing? And his like voice is all cracky, prepubescent. He's like, what are we doing? So am I attacking then? I guess are we racing? Am I holding back? Or am I conceding spots? What do we do? And his team comes over the radio and they're like, we're discussing it. But we never heard the results of that discussion for the record.
No.
So fast forward to later in the race, and we'll come back to the early parts of the race when I get to the next topic. But later on, Russell retires the car. And it may have been legit, but I thought it was just a cockamamie reason for him to say, you know what, I'm done today. I'm just done. I'm calling in sick for the rest of the day. Get on the radio and say something happened to my car. Say my drinks bottle won't work or something. Or do what NASCAR does and just tell them my toe link's busted. So anyway, he ends up retired. I'm pretty sure that car didn't need to be retired. I think he just was tired of racing it. And to be fair,
He
both
was
of
cranky.
yeah,
He woke
and to
up
be fair,
cranky.
both of the Mercedes drivers don't like the car. Everybody knows no one likes the car. Can't do anything about it till next year. We've got 2 more races left. Drive the car and do your job. So, good old Whingin Russell retires with I don't know how many laps. There weren't very many laps left, but he retires. Which brings me to his teammate Hamilton, who I felt overdrove that car because I felt like that car wasn't very fast. Definitely didn't have the straight line speed. Um, looks like they were having a hard time in low speed corners. Uh, Conversely, McLaren looked very good. So did Yuki and the other AlphaTauri
Hmm.
that didn't get hit by attack of the bouncing tire. Yuki looked good in that AlphaTauri a few times. So tough day for Hamilton in that regard, but they still had a good race, right? So not a lot to gripe about. And then what brings me to what is undoubtedly the best probably moment in F1 racing this year. Uh,
Absolutely.
so I don't know, man. What was it? 20 laps or so that Perez was behind Alonso.
Yeah. Yeah.
Within like 4 seconds at the beginning, and then he had it down to like 1.2, and then it was 1.1, and then it fluctuated between 0.9 and 1.015, I think. So and you got the announcers like, okay, Perez is going to be in DRS. Is he going to be close enough on the straight stretch coming up the hill to pass him? And he just never was.
Hmm.
Fast forward to the last 2 laps of the race. So next to last lap, Perez gets him, and it was a great move. It was aggressive, no contact though. Made the move. And what I found funny after this, and for the record, I was there too. I would have done the same thing. But the announcers, the broadcast team is already calling it. They're doing the whole, oh, what vindication for Checo, his first time on the podium
Hmm.
at Brazil, and what heartbreak for Alonso. It's gone more than a decade, and this was his chance to get back on the podium at Sao Paulo, and he's just missed out with 1 lap to go. And then we come down the straight stretch. We go through the Senna S's. We're heading down to turn 4. Alonso turned back the clock to when he was like 22 again. And he did a balls to the wall, size of church bells move on Perez on the outside, and then just cut in on his nose and took the lead back on the very last lap and got back on the podium for the first time in a decade. And it was wonderful to see. And I sent you guys a TikTok this week because a lot of the announcers were talking about, well, Checo might have something to say about that move that Alonso put on him. But Checo walks up behind Alonso during his post race
Hmm.
interview, gives him a hug, gives him a kiss on the cheek. They're laughing. I think those two had more fun in those last 15 laps than they probably had all year.
It was really, it was great race car driving by both
Yeah.
of them. I was so locked in the whole time. I'd watch them. The camera would, change to, a couple, another set of cars. But I'm watching those times. The last 10
Yeah.
for 10, 15 laps. I'm not taking my eyes off those times. And then it happens. They get together, and it's just beautiful to watching these 2 elite drivers. They're not neither one of them's doing anything dirty. They're just,
Right.
let's try this. Let's try this. God, it was so much fun those last few laps.
Yeah, man. It was it was one of the favorite moves I saw all this season, with the exception, and Chad's on here. Hey, Chad, buddy, help me out here. But I think it was Silverstone where I think it was Leclerc and Perez were fighting for position, and Hamilton just snuck up and went under both of them and did a double pass while those two were fighting. I think nobody saw that coming. So that move, and then this past weekend's move by Alonso, and Perez's move was just as good. Unfortunately, it was the next to last lap and not the last lap. So, yeah, that absolutely was amazing. And I could take a second to welcome back Mr. Hitch 610 to the fuel pod, buddy. It's good to see you. Thanks for commenting and being on here tonight. We're about to do our Vegas preview, man. So I hope you'll stick around for that for sure. But that reminds me, man, we have Vegas coming up. So let's take a look and see what we're looking at. So obviously, I've been watching a lot of not great feeds this week from people that are not too the locals that are not too happy about this venue. And I think this is the same for any city that has an event for the very first time. It's going to be rough. Um, so there was a lot of issues at the beginning because F1 was talking about it's going to cost $80 million to host this thing, but don't worry, we got it. And then about halfway through, I guess, development and production on this, they went back to the city of Las Vegas and said, "Yeah, we're going to need you to go halvesies with us and pay $40 million." And of course, Vegas was like, "What for? I mean, you guys are owned by Liberty Media, and you're worth 19.8 billion dollars, and you can't afford $80 million. That's literally like 0.04%, by the way." So long story short, so construction has been shutting down main thoroughfares, and even like if you look in the middle of that map where like where the Ferris wheel is, those were the routes that all the locals would take to avoid the main drags getting congested, right? And now those are shut down for staging of equipment and construction. And then I started thinking, what about people that had that saved that money for a long time and pre-planned a vacation to go to Vegas with either their family or friends or whatever they wanted to do, because Vegas is crazy. And they go out there to see the sights, and now all you're seeing is orange cones and those screen fencing, and it just looks. I imagine it just absolutely destroyed the aesthetic. That aside, though, I still can't wait to watch this race.
Yeah,
and that's because I don't live there, and I don't work there. So anyway, that's pretty funny. So it looks like a cool race. If you look on there and you're familiar with Vegas, you can see this route going right past the Bellagio. It's going right past the Vegas Eiffel Tower. It's going right past the Sphere, which that would probably be my favorite thing. I still would like to go out there and see that because I mean I watched TikToks and YouTube feeds on it, and it looks wonderful. It's going to get pretty close to the university at some point. If you're a sim person, get on your F1 game and fire it up and set the time for night and give it a run. There's some parts of this track that are challenging, to say the least. I watched Lando, your boy, run this one, Mikey, and he didn't do so hot the first time he ran it. So fingers crossed that he gets around Alonso there. So, but anyway,
I'm wondering if what is that, turn 5?
Yeah.
That real tight one right there.
Yeah, that's going to be, and that's
how distracting is that Sphere going to be?
Well, I don't know. It depends on what they put on the Sphere that night. I mean,
yeah. I mean, if it's changing up,
it'll probably be F1 related, or they'll probably put like a Heineken Christmas ornament on it or something. Who knows? I just created my own copyright for a Heineken Christmas ornament, although I'm sure they got one already. But if you look up at the top of the circuit map at turn 1, the other thing that's going to be crazy is there's not much there, not much distance there between the start finish and turn 1. So that ought to be interesting as well. We have a few tracks that are like that, but not many. But this is my other favorite part. We got to do a fashion show, Mikey, because with every cool new race, there's special liveries. And we have 3 special liveries for the Vegas race that we need to rate tonight. So we're going to go first with the Red Bull Vegas livery.
Got some fireworks going.
I think this is lazy. And this is my feelings on Red Bull are absolutely not relevant to this argument, but I think this is, I mean, it looked like a 4th grader just got his fingers dipped in buckets and just sprayed it.
Yeah, it really is.
Of course, they don't need to do anything fancy. They're Red Bull. They're already winning everything we have. But how do you rate this out of 10?
I'll give it a 6 just because it's It's still
They're
got
so
Red Bull.
nice.
It still looks like a Red Bull.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a 3. And
Okay.
that's going to be all I'm
Okay.
going to say about it. All right, next car is the Scuderia Ferrari. And you sent me this picture this morning.
Mm-hmm.
I think you said you didn't know how you felt about this yet. And I didn't like it just on spec when I saw it, although it has grown on me as the day has gone on. However, that being said, I get tired of Ferrari doing the two-tone special liveries. I think they could have taken a page from Red Bull's Turkey livery book here and went with an all white or an all yellow with red decals. I think an all white Scuderia with all red decals would have been on fire, man. I really do. Or the yellow, the Pirelli medium yellow that they use sometimes. I think either one of those would have looked great, but I think there's just too much going on with this livery, so I'm not a huge fan. How do you feel about it?
I'm gonna have to.
0 to 10.
I'm gonna have to give it a 1.
Wow, man,
I just don't like it at all.
that is
It
harsh.
A normal Ferrari looks badass.
Okay.
This looks like a Haas.
Okay. I am going to. Okay, here we go. I don't know.
What's
if you
up,
want me to
guys?
do this, but, hey, what's up, man?
How are y'all?
Pretty good.
I came over,
Hey.
I'm listening, and I'm sorry my internet's terrible in this hotel room, but I just want to pop on for a second and say you guys are smoking crack. That Red Bull car, the Red Bull livery was fantastic. Go back to that. That was fantastic.
Okay, I'll go back to it if you want to tell us why this is
Maybe
fantastic.
because I've got a bunch of 5-year-olds that like to finger paint. Man, it looks great. What's wrong with that one?
I don't know, man.
It looks good.
It looks awful.
Colorful sneezes.
It does kind of look like colorful sneezes. That's a great depiction of it. Anyway, I don't want to hijack your show. I just wanted to come on and say hi for a minute.
Oh man, you could have stayed. It's fine.
Well, I'm good. I don't have anything going on, but it does. I'm just sitting in a hotel room watching a terrible football game. So,
well, we're about to do the last of our livery preview, and this is it right here. And I'm giving this one a 9. And I'm not even a McLaren fan.
Hey, are we allowed to say whatever we want on this show?
Yeah.
What the hell is wrong with y'all? That thing is ugly.
I like this one, man.
Yeah, I like it.
It looks like AI painted a Windows thing on the bottom. It looks like a Windows background, like the wavy stuff. It's terrible.
Well, it is an AI render.
It looks like AI Van Gogh tried to paint it.
Yeah, which I'm a Van Gogh nut, so there we go. That helps out.
Wish.com Van Gogh painted it.
Either way, we got 3 liveries.
Simon says with the hubs.
Yeah. Yeah, not a fan of the Ferrari one, not a fan of the Red Bull one. This one I'm okay with.
All right.
So I approve of this one.
Yeah.
But anyway, guys, that is our Vegas preview as we go back to the regular Brady Bunch screen. Where were we here? So that's Vegas. That'll be not this weekend, but next weekend. And also, folks, take you a nap on Saturday because this race starts at midnight on Saturday night.
So that's not, you said it's not this weekend, right? They're off this weekend?
Yeah, they're off this weekend. It's the following weekend. I think it's the 16th. That's what we're.
Where's the watch party at? We having a watch party, a fuel party, watch party?
I'm trying to get one together for it, so we'll see what happens.
I like it.
Anywho, let's
All
talk about.
Y'all can bounce me out of here because I'm not going to know any of the racing stuff. I just really came in to tell you I love you and I love the show and I'm missing being on here with y'all, but it's fun to watch it.
Thanks, man. Have a good
Yeah,
one.
thanks.
Be watching. See you guys.
That was cool, dude.
Yeah.
I'm uplifted to finish the show on a solid note. So we do have some Rip from the Paddock news. We haven't done it in a while. It's been like 2 or 3 weeks since we did Rip from the Paddock. So I've got 3 articles here that I have not read, and you and I are gonna just kind of go crazy with. Oh wow, man! I thought we were friends. Anywho, the first article of the week. Yeah, I'm just so now I'm shattered. I was up and now I'm down. The first article is "We will never give up." Crack adamant Aston Martin still chasing McLaren for P4 in the constructors. And folks, I'm not talking about crack as in the drug. This is Mike Crack. Yes, his actual name is Mike Crack. So Mike Crack is adamant that Aston Martin will still overtake McLaren or beat McLaren to P4 in the Constructors' Championship, although technically they should have been P3 this year. So I'll let you take first dibs on this one, man. How do you feel about that statement? Not whether they'll take P4, but whether they'll give up.
No, they won't give up. Alonso won't let them give up.
No.
Just him alone. He will smack somebody around if he sees somebody try to give up.
Well,
look at Brazil.
Yeah. And Alonso's got a reputation already that when he comes to a team, part of that understanding is he gets to set some of the policies and process paths. So we saw him do it at McLaren. We saw him do it at Alpine. We've seen him do it throughout his career, especially, after he became a 2-time world champion, you kind of get some of those freedoms. So, yeah, I don't think they'll quit either. Can they get there? Sure, absolutely. And that reminds me, and we'll talk about that never mind. I want to talk about that when we get to podiums and back markers. But the next article, Sargent, as in Logan Sargent, admits he was just not quick enough after coming close to scoring in Sao Paulo GP. Has he ever been quick enough? I was going to say that, right? I mean, he's never been quick enough, bro. I mean, he could have just had AI do this statement and just say it over and over and over.
Hang on, you came close to scoring points because half the field crashed out in turn 1.
Yeah, only 14 cars finished the race. It's like that. I was talking to Redbeard about the highest that Yuki ever finished is because the top 7 or 8 drivers got taken out in turn 1. So, and he still only managed, I think, 3rd or 4th. But they're literally, he needs to be the only car on the grid to get points. Honestly, I really think that. I mean, the 1 point he's got this year was because there was a penalty and he got moved up. So let's just be, he's not there, man.
No.
I don't know what the end of this season looks like for him, although it's pretty late for them to be telling you, that he's doesn't have a seat. So they may take a chance to give him another seat and just chalk the whole thing up as rookie season. F1 doesn't typically operate like that. But So last one, Horner rubbishes Perez retirement rumors as he praises Mexican's great relationship with Red Bull. All right, I'm just going to go out on a limb here and say he praises Carlos Slim's great relationship with Red Bull. Perez is just an attachment to Carlos Slim, but he seems to be pretty in deep defending him every week. And,
yeah.
Horner's really not that guy. If you go back historically and look at some of the other drivers that have had that second seat to Max Verstappen, he hasn't defended them the way he's defending Perez to the media. So maybe it's legit. Unless we're there, I really have a hard time.
When the rumors started, or when Checo dropped off, he started driving like crap, and all the rumors started, he's gone.
Yeah.
If Carlos Slim didn't say, hey, if he's gone, so am I. And
so is
all
my
of a sudden,
Horner's
got to be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with that at all. So I think Horner's being legit here. I just think that it's 6-12 and pick him on whether he keeps his job. So, but that's it for Rip from the Paddock. Just real quick, because it was a championship race, I'm going to cover it briefly. I wish it had been more interesting. And I do there's stuff that is interesting about Phoenix, but this weekend was the NASCAR. He went to the jewelry store and got me something shiny 500 at Phoenix. It was the championship race. It was Kevin Harvick's last race. Yes, I watched it. Yes, I was trying not to shove this ink pen through my temples and switch to a flathead screwdriver. But here's the thing. So Damn, it's because Chad was on here. I called him Dave Blaney again. Ryan Blaney seals the championship, takes the checkers. I think a lot of people saw it coming because Blaney's had, since Texas, has had a tremendous rest of the season, and he's really come on strong. Byron was there. I thought Byron had a good shot at it. I thought Hamlin did until he got nailed out at Martinsville. But, my hat's off to Blaney and his team. Good job, man. Congratulations on the championship. But my other congratulations goes to Kevin Harvick. It was his last race. He had a pretty emotional episode on Dale Jr.'s podcast. So if you haven't had a chance to watch it, watch that. And here's a guy that came into NASCAR on the worst possible day that anyone could have come into NASCAR, which is the day Dale Sr. died at Daytona. The very next week, Harvick was driving the 29 Goodwrench car. He was probably the most hated person because, like him or hate him, NASCAR fans can be fickle, and they didn't even give the guy a shot. And I was one of them too. And plus, I wasn't a big Dale Sr. fan, which made me feel like shit for not being a fan. But Harvick comes in, immediately hated for the most part for taking that car. And turns around and has an illustrious NASCAR career. Definitely Hall of Fame worthy, of course.
Absolutely.
World-class drive at Phoenix this Sunday. He had a chance to win it even towards the end. But like I said, not too much crazy interesting in that race other than Blaney getting his championship and us seeing the swan song of Kevin Harvick. So, buddy, good luck to you and whatever your endeavors are going forward. And congratulations again to Ryan, not Dave Blaney. So,
congratulations, Dave Blaney.
Congratulations to Dave Blaney for producing Ryan Blaney. Because I just can't recall Dave being that crazy successful.
Hey, we're still talking about him today.
That's true. Yeah, I only say it because I'm just old. And I'm still calling the guys. I see Chase Elliott out there. I'm like, oh, there's Chase Elliott. Yes, there we go. So, anywho, that's it for NASCAR. So, man, let's do some podiums and back markers. Let me get this.
We're going in blind this week.
Are you?
So we both are.
Oh yeah, we are, man. Let's get this podium going and see what we got. Okay, I'll go first this week since you went last week.
Go for it.
All right, P3. Drinking the champagne. Dave Blaney. If you win a championship, you're going to make my podium. I don't care what type of race. I don't care if it's Soapbox Derby. By the way, if you are the 2023 Soapbox Derby champion, just DM me and I'll get you on a podium at some point. Number 2, Checo, for not giving up and not giving in and fighting to the end and not wrecking and not ruining your reputation by taking out Alonso. You end up being number 2 on my podium. And number 1, without a doubt, the most electrifying man in racing entertainment today, the old ass bastard, Fernando Alonso. Buddy, you turned a race that Max ran away with it and made Max a side story, which was awesome, by the way. And way to also not give up after being passed on the next to last lap when most people would have, and really getting in there and taking it out. And my honorable mention, and the only reason he's not P3 on my podium is because of Dave Blaney, is Lance Stroll. Because we have been talking mad shit, me included, mad shit about Lance Stroll, and everybody has. And he raced that car this past week. And I don't know if you watched him or focused on him any, but he had a good run. And so my hat's off to you, Mr. Stroll. And good luck in the last 2 races, man. And don't party too hard at Vegas. I know you're young, but at least there's no beach for you to surf, so we don't have to worry about that distraction. And try to stay off of bikes, please, and not bust your hand up. That's it for my podium, Mike.
All right. So my 3 spot goes to Lawrence Stroll's baby boy, Lance. Like you said, we give him shit every week.
Yeah.
Great job. P5. at least 10, 12 times. Me and my daughter's watching the race, and at least 10 or 12 times it said, "What the heck is he doing up there?"
Yeah.
Great
Yep.
job, Lance Stroll. Number 2 is Fernando. You know, what more can be said, right? But my
Yeah.
top spot on my podium, and I told you this after they raced, it's going to take a lot to knock them off. But let's talk about Sarah Bovey, Michelle Gatling, and Rachel Frey, the Iron Dames.
Holy crap.
First
man.
time ever in World Endurance, an all-female team is on the top of the podium. Great job, Iron Dames.
Yes.
And great race. It was exciting at the end. About an hour to go. So about an hour to go. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say we featured them when they were on the podium for class, not overall, but for their class at Le Mans, because that was awesome. And you're right, man. Now I feel like shit for not putting them on mine as well. So good, dude, Mikey. Good job. You're making my other honorable mention spot for putting them.
That's what the pink bandana's for. Chad.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Go ahead.
It was a great job. It was the last hour. So at the first of the race, the Dames pulled in behind the Lynx car. It just kind of rode behind them the entire race until an hour left.
Yeah.
The Lynx car driver got sick, had to retire the car. So she's got about a 2.5 second lead that she's got to fight for an hour. At the same time, these hypercars are going through, LMP2s are going through, and that lead never changed. 2.5 seconds. Yeah. Great job, Iron Dames. It was Sarah Bovey that brought it home.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note as we end our podium to move on to back markers that this was the last year in World Endurance that LMP2 and GTE is going to run. So next year it'll all be hypercar and GT3 cars, like from GT World Challenge. So they are the last winners. They can always say that we won the very last year that ran GTE. So that's kind of cool. All right, back markers. I'm not even going to play loser this week because these losers are so loserful that they don't deserve loser music. But my P3 is Ferrari. And you know how much it pains me to say it, but I don't think anybody's harder on them than I am. And I take a rash of shit for being fans of them. That's why that shit-eating grin's on Mikey's face right now. But I'm also very hard on them. And this is not for the drivers. So if you're one of the drivers and you happen to watch this or whatever, I am not picking on either one of them because this is not their fault. So we actually had 2 issues beyond the wow. So I got to put this up there because I know he would he was like, look at this. Hold on just a second. I'm gonna throw this one up there too. You just put the dad on the podium. Talking about Blaney, back to Blaney. But anyway, back to Ferrari and how shitty this was this weekend. So you got before Leclerc goes out on the formation lap and his hydraulics bust, which is Formula One talk for toe link. Before that, you've got Sainz, my favorite Ferrari driver, saying, hey, I want to pitch this clutch in the bin, which is European for let's throw this clutch in the garbage. Let's toss this shit out with the rainwater, right? So, he's having trouble shifting. They don't fix it. They had to know with the level of diagnostics that they got, they had to know that Charles's hydraulics were on the bubble, right? I mean, these computers that they're using, some of the stuff they say during the race, I'm like, how'd they know that? I mean, the sensors and level of sensors that go into an F1 car are ridiculous. Probably fighter jets don't have some of this stuff. So they sent 2 broke dick cars out there. And they still would have been okay had Charles not went out on the formation lap, but Carlos did okay. But I don't know if you heard the radio transmission at the end of the race where he's like, hey, I can't downshift.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I don't know about this, but you're in an 8-speed car. That's a fucking problem if you can't downshift. So your only hope is holding enough throttle to the turn so you don't stall this sucker out, right? Plus, you can't downshift to brake. You're having to brake to brake. And then you're coming out of the turn, trying to get the RPMs back up so you can get in the throttle. So that had to suck. So anywho, that was just they're my number 3. Number 2 is Russell. Buddy, every week that I root for you because you are an absolutely insane driver. Okay, you got good skills. This 12-year whining stuff's got to go, man. You got one of the best jobs in the world. Shut your mouth. Drive the car. If you win, you win. If Lewis wins, he wins. If neither one of you win, guess what? You didn't win. But quit getting on the radio and bitching. I don't know if you knew this or not, but they're putting that on the television. So quit. Just stop. Drive the car. And my number 1 is the FIA for what they did to Danny and Oscar this past weekend, which was just absolutely, it was uncalled for. It was uncalled for, putting them a lap down when they were on the same lap as everybody else and didn't do anything wrong. They got hit by an errant tire. I don't even know. I'm just done talking about it. So that's my back markers, man. On to you.
All right, I got a special one. I've got a title for my back markers. I'm going to call it the Tifosi Trifecta.
Okay.
So at number 3, I'm going to give to Ferrari.
Oh God, I can see where this is going. Okay.
For that Vegas livery. That's ugly. At number 2, I'm going to give to Ferrari. In the WEC hypercar, the start. They jump up and they're trying to win an 8-hour race in the first turn. Cause chaos. Cause it goes off the track almost to try to get around the Cadillac. The Cadillac gets scared, locks them up, goes into the Toyota. And that poor guy's got to come from all the way at the end back up to the front to be with his partner. But why are you trying to win an 8-hour race in turn 1?
Because you're Ferrari. And we call it racing, Mikey. If you can't hang, you should get off the track. And that's Ferrari was like, listen, you're slow. Get off the track.
I got you.
Go ahead.
All right. My top back marker, I'm going to give to Ferrari. And you'll see my title tonight said Wile E. Coyote wears red.
Yeah, I was wondering where that's coming from.
So they're kind of like for Wile E. Coyote. You know, they're chasing the Roadrunner, Red Bull.
Okay.
And they build these things and they break. And they come up with these strategies and they don't work.
I didn't know where you were going with this. Is it weird that this is all making perfect sense?
I didn't know if it would or not.
I really wish it wasn't, but it's making perfect sense. Trying to come up with the Acme box of inventions to overcome the Roadrunner's speed. I get that. I see that now. Damn it, man.
And that is my Tifosi trifecta.
All right. Wow. Okay, that's fine. My title for my guy tonight was literally just the hashtag "What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas." But let's go with Tifosi trifecta because who gives a shit, right? All right, that's good times. All right, so podium back markers complete. Let's move on to some fuel pod news. So, like the F1 race in Vegas, WRC is going to be doing rally dirt racing in Japan, but not on dirt. They're going to be doing it on tarmac, asphalt. If you live over here. Concrete, if you don't know the difference between asphalt and concrete. Either way, it's a hard road. And it's Japan. And did you watch Japan last year? Where they had the tunnel and the car blew up inside the tunnel and there's like only room for the car in the tunnel.
Okay, I saw a clip of that today. Okay, I was wondering.
Yeah. So hopefully they figured out the safety situation with that going on. But you know, it's a race in Japan, and as I've said a million times, you can't have a race in Japan without it being super technical. So look for a lot of low speed drift corners and/or just flat out almost coming to a stop and taking the turn. But for all those, there'll be the marches through the dogwoods and all that bit. So it should be a festive looking rally when we watch it next weekend. Not this coming weekend, but the following weekend. So looking forward to seeing that. Of course, the championship's decided, but I'd still like to see, you know, Elvin Evans show up to play, even though he's lost the thing. He's still in it for 2-3 with Neuville, although I think Neuville's out of contention for 2 now, but we'll see.
Yeah, he's Being tarmac, he should do well.
Wow, man, you're just getting all kinds of love tonight, dude. I'm sure this was for your Roadrunner analogy. You should tweet that to Scuderia Ferrari. They might be like, I think he's onto something.
Yeah.
Anyway, the other big one we've got coming up, and I was on Twitter excuse me, I can't call it that anymore, can I? I was on X tonight.
There you go.
And a guy that has interacted with the Fuel Pod before. He's it's unfair to just call him a Dakar driver because if you read his resume, he's driven in so many different series and been successful at all of them. But Tim Cornell was talking about Dakar Desert Rally, which is coming up on January 5th, and it is 14 days through the Arabian Desert. Circling around Riyadh and going but anyway, it's starting at Alula and ending at Yambu. It's 5,000 kilometers. Separated. I think it's either 12 or 14 stages, a little over 100 kilometers a day. One of the days, though, is a 48-hour stage. And they typically, I think that's the one they call Hell Week usually. But so basically, they have till 4:00 p.m. to reach a certain point. If they're not there, a cannon will be sounded off, and they have to stop right where they are. And then they start back up at 7 a.m. the next morning, right where they are. So they have to sleep wherever they have to cut the engine. So it's engines cut at
in
a
the middle of the
cannon blast.
desert.
Yeah, this is one of the hardest, and we've brought it up before. It's without a doubt one of the most grueling races in the world. So, yeah, that starts on January 5th, so right after the new year. And I'm looking forward to catching bits and pieces of that in between work and kids and all that business. So we'll have more information on that as we get forward, and we'll talk about the different classes because Dakar is a multi-class event, and they have a crazy bunch of classes. So hybrids got introduced there, I think last year or the year before. So it's been interesting. Carlos Sainz Sr. Typically competes. I don't know if he's doing it this year, but he's 62 or 63 years old, but he's been competing in it for a long time. But Mikey, that's all I got, buddy. You got anything?
That's about it.
Man, 52 minutes, under an hour, doing good. Covered everything we wanted to cover. Thank you to Chad Redbeard for being part of tonight's chat discussion on the side, and for giving Mikey so many props because, man, it's been a blessing to have you on the show the last few weeks. Hope you keep coming back.
Oh, yeah.
As we move into this off season in racing, for the most part, we do have some stuff coming up that we can discuss, obviously, as we move to the end of the F1 season and the rally season and the NASCAR season. And we got Indy coming back and IMSA coming back pretty soon. So we'll start talking about some of those, of course. But folks, thank you very much. Wherever you watch it this week or whenever you watch it, leave us a comment. Leave us you can't even call it a tweet anymore. It's ridiculous. Leave us an X. I don't know what you even call it. Anyway, I'm JNeil729 or at JNeil729. This is at 2Diddy4. If you want to tweet the Fuel Pod directly, it's at pod_fuel. And folks, have a great rest of your week. Enjoy your weekend. Watch some racing. Have a good time. Hang out with your families. All right. We'll catch you guys next week.